Good evening and welcome, Warriors, to another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Robert Hagan. Robert, for LC, it's almost spring break, and I'm feeling it really bad because of how busy everything has been. For you, you've had all sorts of stuff going on.
All tons of stuff going. But my spring break starts on. I'm getting a day early on Friday. I'm taking off Friday. I'm ready to go down Bull State this weekend. So yeah, that's starting off. But man, it's just been busy with finishing up with some baseball stuff, working softball. I know Alicia emailed us the other day wanting to set up schedules for when I get back next week after next and finish out the season for LCSC. But
yeah, thanks for leaving me high and dry as the only person doing PA this
That's
week.
not just my fault. You got to bring Mike too, and I don't know what happened with Darren was talking about filling in, but I haven't seen whether or not he's doing anything. But
All me.
Road trip. I did road trip this week. This last Friday, turn around, come back, and got another one coming up here pretty quick. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But,
absolutely, another jam-packed show. Our 75th edition of the R&R Sports Report. Somehow they have not kicked us out of this room yet.
Exactly, and that's the cool thing. 75. Can you believe that? 75, and like in the post I made earlier today is the last day of March for us, and then it teeters off into what I think is the busiest time of the year. You've got March Madness ending up. You've got the Masters coming up. NFL draft. You and I talked about NFL draft as we get ready to plan for that opening day.
Big plans for the NFL draft here with the R&R Sports Report and a different sports report that's stole our name. We will have a battle with them at the end of next month. More of that coming as we get more details. But on today's show, it's another jam-packed edition. One of our good buddies getting honored this Saturday. You won't be there for it.
I know, it sucks.
I've already had a little bit of fun changing the name. We'll get to that in a little bit. Obviously, baseball is still going red hot over there. Surprise, we're going to be talking about Clayton Van Dyke again. We've never talked about that guy ever.
I don't think we've missed an episode in the last probably 20 episodes where we haven't brought up his name.
We will go through all four of our brackets, the NAIA tournaments on the men's and women's side. The finals are going on right now. Our brackets have already been decided because we both suck and didn't get our champions right. We'll also go through the men's and the women's NCAA brackets. Pretty close battles there as well. Some really good games throughout the weekend as expected from that tournament. Of course, high school sports getting ramped up on the spring side. NFL offseason continues to just throw haymakers as far as news stories go. Of course, we've got to talk about John Clayton. Easily the best Sports Center commercial of all time. Yeah. I'm sad that you did not change your sports-related draft to that now.
Well, yeah.
Now that I just thought about it off the top of my head.
There you go. That's next week.
No, it is not. WrestleMania weekend's next week. I have to do it based on that. Our sports-related draft, though, again, if anybody's out there and is listening and wants to judge, or any of our guests want to stick around, we can pump it up if you guys know anything from it. But it is Robert's pick this week. And what'd you pick?
The biggest MLB free agents bust. That is what we're going to talk about. Who was the worst free agent signing, changing teams? So it'll be interesting.
It's a good one. It's an easy win. Brian's over here. Just know.
Yeah. And also, a real quick plug before we do. Don't forget, we'll talk about Warrior Wake Up on Thursday on the 24th. So be listening for that. We'll talk about how you can donate to the Warriors.
Yes. And then we will end the show with week 1 of Aussie Rules football.
Yes. We crushed it.
One team absolutely dominated. The other team is Robert's favorite team, who did okay. I mean, they played all right.
My team crushed it. We were up 60 at half.
It was not a pretty game. But all of that and more. But first, Robert, we got some very special guests in the house.
Dude, I made a road trip. I talked to you, tried to get you. You had to work, but made a road trip, went up and went to Airway Heights and got to go watch a buddy of mine go up and fight up at Conquest of the Cage. And over the last few weeks, we've gotten to, months now, gotten to know a couple of the other guys. But joining us here live in studio is Brian McElroy and also Demitri Morales. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you for having us on the show.
It is radio show. You have to talk.
Yes,
That's
sorry.
the rule.
This is round number 2 for me, but no, always excited to be in here and talking with you guys.
In the studio for the first time. We were stuck outside. What was it? Christmas break or something, and you weren't there.
It was a winter break when we had him on before.
And Demitri, it's making your first time.
Good,
So
yeah, I'm doing real good. Still feeling that a good energy from that win. That feeling's like no other. It's crazy.
yeah, so it was crazy to watch both of you. Brian, you fought first there on Friday up at Conquest of the Cage. Great venue, and I'll let you guys both talk about it. But standing room only, few seats. There wasn't a place you weren't bumping into somebody up there. But talk about a little bit of the environment. I came away with a headache. It was so loud, people screaming, the music.
I came away with a headache.
Man.
How about the 2 fighters?
They didn't get a hit.
Yeah, no headache for me, but I'm still newer into the game, and that was my second fight. But having that be my starting point is something that is very exciting. It's a great show. Rick Little always sells out, and he kind of just there to give the people what they want, but at the same time, as a fighter, to have that energy, especially before you go on to fight, is ridiculous, because you hear the crowd going crazy. You hear when a knockout comes before you, how much the people cheer. So it gets the nerves going, but at the same time, it gets you really excited.
The energy was crazy. At first, I wasn't feeling it, and I peeked my head out the curtains, and I saw everyone out there, and the nerves got to me. But when I walked out, it all goes away. You're in the zone, and you're ready to show what you've been working on, all the skills you've been working on.
It was a huge card. I want to say there was like 14 or 15 bouts, and just even the first couple. And here's the first one. The first guy out there, 42 years old.
Yeah,
that was old. Younger than I am, older than you, but to see that guy go out there and give everything he had. And go, I think he went almost 2 rounds, but just crazy in the environment to get these guys going and get to your bouts. I mean, you didn't fight until the 10th, but let's talk a little bit about yours. An hour before you get ready to fight, your second guy backs out.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I always give credit to anybody who's out there, or whoever shows up and is ready to go out there and fight, because that's, I'd say, more than half the battle. The nerves that you have going on the day before, the week before, the day of, is unexplainable, like Demitri said. But yeah, I had 2 opponents drop out. The second one was actually the day of the fight. They threw another person by me, but we didn't really decide, or agree on weight. And so, yeah, I'd say 30 minutes, 20 minutes before I found out who I was going to fight. I believe he was supposed to be the second fight on the card, but his opponent didn't show up as well. So major congrats or props to his name's AI Cruz for taking the fight, showing up and making that walk out to the cage. I respect him a lot.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And then you, Demitri, your guy was there. He was just as pumped as you are. But I tell you what, I got more excited watching you after they announced your name the second time in the ring, and he was up, jumping. I mean, you were ready to go.
Yeah. The number one thing for me is to entertain that crowd. They put the money in to come watch us, so I'm going to make sure they get their money's worth. So I go out there to entertain and make sure it's exciting to watch me go out there and fight. That's the number one thing for me. Now,
your match went a little bit longer than Brian's did, but yours ended in an armbar submission.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, what's going through your mind? Because it looked like you had it planned. You're going that way with that armbar.
Yeah, 100%. I was being sneaky about it. I was on top of him. I was mixing in my punches. So I was punching him on top, and I was grabbing his arm on top while mixing in punches. So I just fell back. And I was just sneaky about it. I made sure he knew it wasn't coming.
Yeah, it was just like right out of the blue, But I could see that you kept leaning that direction. And I thought he's going to pull it out really quick. And
now, is that something that during your training you work on? If you get in that kind of a situation, that's what you're looking for, or is it just one of those you're in the moment oh, the opportunity's there, let me try to set it up?
Oh yeah, I work that every day.
Mhm.
I'd say every day I'm working that armbar. Yeah.
And in your fight, you ended up quick in about, I want to say it was close to 60 seconds or about a minute. But it's got to be a lot of, for him, your opponent, not knowing you or you knowing him, walking in there at a disadvantage.
Yeah, so I would say, and again, all respect to my opponent, but going in there, I knew I should, if I did what I've been trained to do, I would have the advantage. And that's kind of the learning lesson I took away from it, was going in there, controlling what I could control, and then working on some of my skills that we train, like Demitri said, every single day. Watching Dimitri's finish it gives me goosebumps, because I do see the work that he puts in every day. And none of this came because of luck. And that was also a rematch for Demitri,
Right.
because his opponent wanted to see him again, and Demitri has not missed a day of work, and the results showed. So yeah.
So we talked about the last time that you were on, about just how much of a family it is for you guys doing the group, and you can see it in your eyes talking about Demitri. You are far more excited about his performance than your own, and I see that a lot from the few of the fighters that we've had on the show. Talk about that a little bit. Just, is it because you're going out there with the practices and beating each other up a little bit that it gets you guys closer together, or what creates that bond?
I think, 100% is the day in, day out grind and the sport that we're competing in. We do hit each other in the face. We give each other bloody noses. We can even get angry at each other when we're practicing. But we know we're all working towards the same goal, and you want to see the best for somebody in a sport like this. Not to say it's not the same in every single other sport, but just, the roughness and the toughness that goes into the day in, day out work. And then having a young man like Demitri, where we see his potential. And myself, I started a little bit later in this sport, but I don't think there's another person in the gym that works as hard as him. And everybody's deserving to have a great career, but he's really putting in that work. So I really see him as like a younger brother, and just wish him nothing but the best.
And one big thing I noticed is there was a lot of folks it was based out of Spokane. You got your Spokane crew, but then you've got your Moses Lake group. And now I had a chance to talk to Jared towards the end of the fights, and him and I talked for a couple minutes, and he made the comment, and it does resonate with me a little bit, is Lewiston's starting to get their name as being one of those things. So what is it out of the dojo, out of Arnett's place, what's it like to know that this dojo is now being recognized by not only just the folks in Spokane and Moses Lake, but now starting to get kind of a national recognition?
It's amazing. I think that's exactly what Austin and Frank Arnett deserve. They've been working hard towards this dojo, and they've been putting their all into these kids, adults, just everyone in that dojo. And it's starting to show. We're all a family, and I'm glad, I'm happy for Austin and Frank's legacy. It's what they deserve.
What is it like going up against training with Austin and Jared and Brian? What's it like? And I only say those few names. I know there's so many more guys that we have not talked to yet, or that I'm not friends. Brian and I
get you out there to start training. Yeah.
Listen, after our thing, like a week later, one of our followers, Jordan, caught me at the store, and he's like, well, when are you going to go up and fight? When are you going to go up and start training? I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get my butt kicked by Jared.
You go out and start training and you do one fight, I will Bobby Heenan for you. So hard. Maybe even Jim Cornette. I'll show up with a tennis racket. I'll do something.
But what's it like, to know, the legacy, especially they just had a tournament up there in Frank's honor.
It's amazing. I've been training with them since I was just a young buck. I was 14, and I've been training with adults since I've started this game. And it's amazing because I look up to Brian, I look up to Austin, I look up to Jared. They're all like big brothers to me. It's awesome.
And you had a huge following. And I was sitting, I was telling Randy, I shouldn't be saying it. I bought a standing room only ticket, but I bounced around sitting in different chairs all around the venue. I know you saw me at 2 different spots, but to be over at one spot, but you had like an entire group of family and friends. And I think even a couple of your sponsors were there.
Yeah. I have a big support group, and it means a lot to me because I wouldn't be doing what I am right now without them. I walk out for my fight and chills. I have a picture of me with goosebumps all over me because I'm like, dang, it's crazy. It's awesome.
Now I know what Brian does for a living. What do you do for a living besides fighting?
That's all I do, fighting. I train 5 days a week, 2 times a day. That's usually what I do. So it's my life.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So hopefully taking that next step into where Austin's going. And I think Austin has a fight this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And where's he fighting out of this weekend?
He's over in Abu Dhabi, fighting for the UAE Warriors promotion. Yeah, so this is his second fight over there.
Now so he must have just left because he was up there Friday.
Yeah.
So he must have left Saturday,
Exactly.
stayed up in Spokane and left Saturday.
Works hard. He works hard, and yeah, like Demitri said, we have so much respect for him, and he deserves the world as well, taken up after Frank. So yeah, he was up there on Friday and then took off, I believe, yesterday.
It's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about we're less than 30 days now from the next bout out of the casino, out of Clearwater River Casino. Talk about your opponents. Do you guys know who your opponents are yet, or anything like that?
Yes, I do know my opponent. He trains out of Spokane. I don't know what gym. I don't know the name of the gym. I know what gym, but I think he has a 3-3 record, and he's a striker. So should be a good fight, and it'll be a good test. Probably the toughest fight I've had yet.
Yeah, the one thing I do know about whoever I'll be fighting next, or one thing that we really want to make it a point of, is to give me somebody in there that's a little bit more experienced and more challenging. That's something that Austin said after we finished that last fight, and I say that's the best way to grow. Challenge yourself in there. Yeah, we're still riding the high from the fights last Friday, and everybody was back in the gym yesterday getting better. So one thing I will say is that we'll be prepared, and I'm not worried about that at all.
That's awesome. All right, so you've done this next part, so we're gonna pick on Demitri for a couple minutes, and we ask all of our guests the same kind of questions, and I'll do a couple of quick questions. Just tell me what you're thinking, and then Randy's got a word association before we let you guys go, and you guys got practice tonight, don't you? So go do a little sparring. So, all right. So if you could host a talk show, who would be your first guest?
Ooh, out of anyone?
Out of anybody you want.
World.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Living or dead, if you had to go that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, let's say we'll do Conor McGregor.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
That's not a PG interview.
Yeah.
Far from that.
Absolutely.
So I then asked, how old are you?
I'm 18.
We're right at 18. So that's what I figured, 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
So you probably do a lot of household chores around. What's your worst one you want?
Worst one. I do not like the dishes. Unloading the dishwasher is my least favorite.
It sounds like my wife. I ended up having to do all that. What's your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is chewing with the mouth open, probably. Yeah, just a simple one.
Yeah. What is one important skill everyone should master?
Fighting. I think fighting.
I was waiting for the same arm bar.
Fighting's been around since we've been around.
Right.
I think everyone should know how to defend themselves.
All right. So you're a lean, mean guy. I watched you up there fighting. Are you a PB and jelly fan?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. The two most important parts. Well, here's the first one. Are you more? What's the ratio? Is it more peanut butter or more jelly? Or is it 50-50?
It has to be 50-50, yeah. It can't be too much jelly, but it can't be too much peanut butter.
What kind? What kind of jelly?
Oh, grape.
Grape?
Hard-hitting question.
I know.
Yes.
I just love it. This is Kevin, the loyal listener, brought this up like 6 months ago, and it's just taken over our show.
Dude, I have to share this though. I forget who we asked last week about it, and I ended up making the peanut butter and jelly, and I put peanut butter on both sides first, where it didn't get soggy. I don't know who was it we were talking about that with.
It wasn't
last week
'cause
or
we
week
had the
before
week
last.
off.
And I actually made the PB and J that
Stevens that we had?
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it was Callie that was.
And I ended up putting peanut butter on both sides before I put the jelly down. Figure that out.
We teach here.
Yeah, she's a role
Or
model.
we get taught.
Yeah, she's a role model. All right, what's your favorite sports team?
As a football or basketball or just anyone?
Yeah.
49ers.
49ers, huh? I don't know about this.
You better watch out.
I might end up in
I'm
the
just glad I
wrong
didn't
box.
say Seahawks, so I have to laugh about this.
Yeah. No kidding.
All right, let's get to the word association. Just go through a couple of names. Just first thing that pops to your head. Jared Fisher.
Animal.
How about Brian?
Role model.
Austin Arnett.
Role model.
All right. Last one. We do it to everybody. Demitri.
The future.
I love it.
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely love it.
Yes, sir.
That is great.
So
I
before
love
you let you go, we already talked to you about how it felt going out, and now leaving the interview. I kind of want to do it the same way. So you were talking about the goosebumps and the energy after. Talk about that moment that the referee stops that fight, and you get your armbar in, you get the win. Is it relief? Is it excitement? As two people that don't win anything, and my last fight was in 8th grade. It lasted 3 seconds, and I did not win.
it. You know what? I did share this.
I'm curious how that feeling is.
I think it can be different for each fight, but for my last fight that I just had on Friday, it was a big relief because I had a lot of stress going into this fight. I had a few injuries that no one really knew about, and it messed with my head a little bit, but I got through it and I won that fight. So it was a big relief, but I was excited too.
That's cool. And you can get him. You guys, he can teach you a few things. You used to do the backyard
I did the
wrestling.
fake stuff.
He did. We talked
Fantastically.
about that.
I talked a big game and got my butt kicked every time. That was my role, and that would be what happens when I go up there. I would talk a big game, and they would shut it up really quick.
You and I talked about it a few minutes ago. Since we've added, the more we've talked with you MMA fighters and the stuff locally, we've had more people like our page over the last few weeks just because it's getting out in your guys' community. Maybe that's what we need to do. Once we hit 600, we end up going up there and
Always welcome.
put
I'm
Always
telling you,
welcome.
when we hit 600, we'll just put up a poll who they want to get at one training session. And at 600, one of us has to go do it while the other one laps.
there we go.
And we appreciate the support from you all as well.
Absolutely.
Growing both of our platforms, so
Yes.
it's awesome.
Love sharing stuff out with you guys. So again, next fight.
April 23rd, and could I shout out the rest of
Yeah,
our teammates?
sure.
that are
Yeah,
fighting
because
on that card?
we don't know all of them yet.
So April 23rd, it's going to be a Martial Arts America party up at the Clearwater River Casino. So it's going to be myself, Dimitri's got a fight, Travis Keene, jiu-jitsu master, Jesse Gangler, who is, I think, one of the best fighters in this region. He just had a fight down in San Antonio and did amazing. Jared Fisher, Connor White, Trey Mooneyham, and am I missing
Tim.
Oh, Tim Dwyer.
Yeah, Tim Dwyer.
Yeah, so we've got a big group fighting, so everybody show up and support.
And no, we talked about it a few minutes before we went on air that I had gotten my ticket. Not very many tickets left. So if you have not done so, make sure you go out to the casino, call them, get your tickets reserved. I think they're down to just basically standing room only. But again, April 23rd, which is a Saturday night. Doors open, I believe, at 6. Fights start at 7. So we want to thank Brian McElroy and Demitri Morales. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. It's been a pleasure, and hope you guys don't beat each other up tonight at practice.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks,
so much.
guys. All right, that's Brian and Demitri joining us here live on the R&R Sports Report. And I am so excited to go out and watch these guys do their thing again. It is awesome to see what they the future. Like he said, he is the
That's
future.
awesome.
I think that's the best comment that we've heard. So I'm excited.
You know, we've always talked about Clayton Van Dyke having the most confidence we've had on this show. Demitri run for his money and good. I mean, the right kind of confidence.
Right. It's not the arrogance, but it's the I know I can do, and I know, and then if he's training 5 days a week, twice a day, that's just training time.
Absolutely.
What about all the other when he's going, running and all that stuff?
It's the kind of confidence that you're pushing yourself for. I know I'm the best. I could be the best. I'm going to go out there and outwork everybody to show them that I will be the best. And you can see that with Demitri, how much he was very much into it. You could tell with Brian, he sees it in him as well. So very excited to kind of see where he can go throughout. And again, very excited to have him on the show and talk about it. And we got to get more of these guys on, especially with the big fight coming up. Maybe that weekend or that week before we can get them on. I know the week before that, our show is very much up in the air as far as timing goes. I'll be in Vegas and you'll be out of town and we'll make it work. But we'll figure it out.
It'll be crazy. So looking forward to it. But yeah, that week is also Fair Week too. So there's a lot of things going on. That's also the Dogwood Festival run that weekend, the fights out there, the fair, all that.
I'm telling you, we need to put a poll up. We'll do one. I have no problem embarrassing myself or embarrassing you.
That's the easier part. That's the easier part, embarrassing me.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's put up the poll. And then when we hit 600, because we're getting close.
Yeah, we're getting real close.
I'll look it up real quick where we are at as far as followers go. But the moment I think one of us once they realize that one of us has to go out and train with these guys, we'll hit 600 tonight, I think.
Yeah.
The moment the poll goes up.
It'll be interesting, but glad those guys came out and joined us. So let's talk a little bit LC news. There's so much going on. Oh my God.
We are 28 follows away on Facebook. If you are listening on 88.9 FM KLCZ, go check out R&R Sports Report on Facebook and YouTube. Go follow the page. Again, we're 28 away from 600. It's absolutely crazy. And we'll do something stupid. We got destroyed by the legend Kai Fong in tennis. I have no problem embarrassing myself for follows. That's
who we are.
Part of life, right?
Yeah, exactly. So tons of stuff.
Yeah, tons of stuff. So Wake Up with the Warriors, March 24th at 7 a.m. Details on that?
Yeah, so this is Warrior Week where they go and do their fundraiser. Lots of different businesses that have thrown out money to help support the Warriors. Make sure, if you are not aware of it, go to their Facebook page, LC Warriors on Facebook, and watch some of the videos. They've got some of the teams doing videos to talk about it. It's Wake Up with the Warriors. It's your way to get on and donate money to the LC Warrior, the sports thing. That is lcwarriors.com/donate is where you can do that. But I believe that Alicia and them are going to be streaming live on the Facebook page. Is different ways of looking, but then if you want to just donate, that is the website again, lcwarriors.com/donate.
There's also big LC news that was announced today.
I haven't talked to him yet.
I have not either. I definitely will be this weekend. But if you go out to the LC games this weekend, which we'll talk about how the baseball team is doing here shortly, 4 games set, Friday, doubleheader Saturday, and a game on Sunday. If you come out for the doubleheader, in between game 1 and 2, we will be honoring the Hall of Famer, Denny Grubb, friend of the show, as they will be honoring him by naming the press box after Denny Grubb. I have asked Alicia if we can get sponsored because I really want the press box to be called the Grubb Hub.
There you go. I like that.
Unfortunately, Grubb Hub is an actual thing, so we need to be sponsored by Grubb Hub so we could call the press box the Grubb Hub. We'll be working on that. But Denny Grubb, obviously, very well deserved, and we'll be excited to be the PA during that event.
Yeah. Sad I'm going to miss out on it. I'm hoping that she decides to stream it because I believe I'll be done bowling about that time. So watch it. So Alicia, if you're listening, make sure you stream it or something.
Baseball will be on lcwarriors.com.
So hopefully it's there.
Speaking of baseball, 29-1 are the Warriors now on the season. They defeat Central Washington last week during a weird midweek doubleheader for them, but they defeat Central Washington 11-1 and 18-5. Aiden Nagel was named the CCC Player of the Week. Game 2 against Central Washington, Nagel went 4 for 5 with 2 home runs and 7 RBI.
This is a monster.
Pretty great numbers.
Oh yeah, man he can hit the ball. That even the few games that I've called and done that, he's got a lot of pop.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter what side, what field. I mean, he can hit the ball wherever.
4-game set back at home against British Columbia. Friday will be at 3 p.m. Saturday doubleheader again, noon and 3 p.m. Again, we'll be honoring Denny Grubb between the 2 games, and then Sunday is at 11 a.m. So 4 games set over there at Harris Field. I will be there for all 4 games.
Sorry.
And then thanks. And then I get a run from that 4th game on Sunday straight up to Castle Park for my daughter's 5th birthday party, because we're going to do that on Sunday before her birthday, since she gets that wonderful midweek birthday set up. But that's when we're going to do it. Tennis-wise, both the men and the women defeat Whitworth. So the men now 7-5 on the year. The women back up to 4-5 overall. Golf, Deanna Caruso and Christoph Pankey both earn weekly Cascade Conference Golfer of the Week honors, as they had played last week as well. And again, we said we're going to bring it up. LCSC track never stops. Ever stops. You get cross country, right into indoor track, right into outdoor track. Starting the outdoor track season, Madigan Kelly, who's been absolutely phenomenal all season long, breaks the 100-meter hurdles record that was broken by Sarah Hathaway the heat prior. So Sarah Hathaway in one of the heats runs a 14.84 time to set the LC record. Kelly goes out there the next heat and runs a 14.8 to then set the record. Those are the only 2 times in women's LC history that somebody has ran under 15 seconds. And both of them did it in the same event. And there was another warrior, I'm blanking on the name now, that was like a 15.1. So there's ridiculous talent on that team. Annika Grogan won the 200 meters and 400 meters in this last event. London Kirk set a school record and won the 400 meters. Clayton Van Dyke finished second. Clayton decided, well, I'm not going to finish second here. He ran the second fastest time in school history in the 3,000 meters and won the event. 3 warriors finished in the top 3. And that one, Ike Hopper wins the 110-meter hurdles. Just this track and field team, we've talked to several of them over the last year and a half. There's so much talent just pouring into this program.
And I'd love to see where could these guys go for future. I mean, they could make. You just say the word name Clayton Van Dyke, and where could we put him where he gets a lot of recognition? I mean. Yeah, I mean, when? How much longer is it going to take before he finally is doing that?
I mean, Jack Atkin did, and I think that's really helped the Warrior program. And I can definitely see Clayton do that as well. Cole Olson maybe too, if he really, really wanted to. He's fantastic as well. And some of these women that we have going on right now, and I think Annika Grogan's a sophomore, right?
Sophomore, yeah.
And Kelly's a freshman. That's the word I was going for. So just ridiculous talent right now with the Warriors track team. Let's update you on the NAIA tournaments. Of course, unfortunately, both the Warriors teams were knocked out pretty early. The men got knocked out in the opening round. The women got knocked out in the second round. But it is championship day over there. And right now, on the men's side, Loyola is defeating Talladega 52-45 with 7:29 to go in that game. You and I both had Loyola as our runner-up, so we got them in the finals. But we both had them losing. We had them losing to teams that were not even in the tournament. So our points are done, and you have definitely defeated me there. You win the men's bracket 91-69. So congratulations on that. Again, I said before the show, you beat nothing because my brackets were horrible on the NAIA side. On the women's side, they're in the fourth quarter. Thomas More is defeating Dornt, who is like a 5th seed over there. Thomas More up 61-36. Dornt had upset Southeastern last night to make the final. Southeastern was our champion for both of us. You also defeated me on the women's side, 76-56. It was only closer because you were almost as bad as me.
Yeah, it was terrible looking at some of those picks that came through. But I think I'm more upset. I figured Southeastern would have been a shoe in to make it all the way to the finals, but
It was a close game for sure.
So just I guess I got lucky on the NAIA because I went down. I sat with Coach Pat Sabota. We were sitting at work there the other day, and we went through and was looking at. No, we were looking at. And he's like, I asked him. I said, "So any of these names stick out?" And he's like, "Nope."
No.
Yeah, no.
Thanks for the help.
He's like,
all right, let's go to the NCAA men's bracket. We'll get to the women's in the second hour. But just looking at what has actually happened in the tournament, Gonzaga's had two closer games, and I think they would like to think their first halves, they haven't really gotten rolling just yet. Survive and advance, that's all you have to do. And I think if there's any Gonzaga fans out there or any Gonzaga detractors, there's plenty of those as well. I don't think you can look at these two games and go, well, they're not going to last because they haven't had good offenses. They get a week off to reset everything. But what do you think of Gonzaga so far?
Well, they've got to figure something out, but because you can't leave Georgia State. I mean, yeah, they're 18-10 team coming into the tournament. They weren't a team that should have hung around as long as they did. Mm-hmm. It was right. They just couldn't. The Bulldogs just couldn't get anything to fall. Nothing was going their way to start there in the first half, and then, you woke up Drew Timme in game one, and he ended up, I believe, he had 30 points in that first game. So Memphis, I think I was more impressed, and I was talking with Pat Ogden, Maggie Ogden's dad, the other day, and we were talking about the idea of playing for Penny Hardaway. Even looking at his team, and we were talking about the look of what Memphis looks like over the last couple of years, is a lot of the guys look exactly like him with the length of the arm spans those guys got. But it was weird for me to see Coach Larry Brown, who we've been used to for so many years coaching, being an assistant coach for Hardaway.
It's a decent assistant coach.
Oh,
I mean, Larry Brown's 117 years old, but
still to have the knowledge on that team sitting behind him, I just it was great to watch that game. Yeah, Memphis was in it for a while, and then finally, about 12 minutes left, it was starting. You could see the wheels finally get going for
Gonzaga started hitting shots and getting things rolling
and
a bit more.
And Holmgren didn't have near the game. Neither did Drew Timme that they did in game one. So it'll be interesting. I think Arkansas will be a good opponent against them, but easy. I think it'll be another decent game there, but it should be at least a 10-point win.
Should win that one. They are definitely in the hardest bracket remaining.
Exactly.
The only bracket left with the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds all left. Again, Gonzaga will be taking on Arkansas. Texas Tech will take on Duke. And I'm really mad at myself. I wanted the upset with Davidson, and I told you I was doing the storybook Duke run for my bracket because I'm like, if I'm going to be wrong, let's just go way wrong and go with it. I, for whatever reason, skipped over the fact of Coach K versus Izzo. They face each other more times than any other two coaches, and that does happen in the second round. Very cool moment. It's always one of those crazy things that you have where, like, yes, Izzo's upset that his team is going to be knocked out, but he looks over and you see the emotion on Coach K's face for being able to make it to another Sweet 16, and Izzo can't help but crack a smile. I will say Texas Tech's going to be a very difficult team for Duke. Duke's winning that game for one reason and one reason only. Coach K is at 99 tournament wins. He's not going to be stopped at 99 tournament wins.
I sure hope not. Especially, and I think that's why I like the AT&T commercial right now with him. And have you seen that commercial yet? Mm-hmm. I got to take job interview. He's got to tap the entire month of March off. But yeah, I think he comes away with a win. It'll be interesting. And who would have known Few versus, Coach K? Who would have thought that earlier in the year? I would have I think Gonzaga's side of the bracket was a lot harder. I would have thought Duke would have been in a different part of the bracket. I would have probably put them in the East, but
Yeah, so they could
I'm
lose
not
to
part-
St. Peter's.
I'm not part of
Weird
the.
game. Let's go to the East. Great Sweet 16 matchup.
Right.
We talk about history.
Mhm.
North Carolina, UCLA, great storied franchises. That's going to be a fun matchup. When do they play? Thursday?
I think
Is that
so.
the Thursday ones? I forget which one. I always forget who goes where. But that's going to be a really good one. And then the weird one. I mean, yes, we're not surprised Purdue made it. I think both of us had it wrong, or at least I had it wrong. You got it right. Congratulations there. But St. Peter's, the 15 seed in the Sweet 16, and they've kind of been dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Can they win one more?
I would sure hope
Can they win
could.
two more?
Can they win two more? That's the bigger question. Let's see what I was looking here in the East side. Purdue plays on Friday, 7:09.
So they will all play Friday. Yeah.
So 7:09, and then UNC UCLA is also it's a 9:39 game. So what 6:30 game our time.
I don't see St. Peter's continuing this. Usually, that's the one problem with the way that the NCAA tournament is set up, where it's not one straight tournament.
Right.
They have them split out throughout a couple weeks. Is one team's going to get red hot like St. Peter's did, take a few days off, get all the accolations back at home, and then come back and reality kind of sets in a little bit.
I think Purdue blows them away. I think it's going to be a lot bigger win there.
I'm rooting for St. Peter's, but I'm with you as well.
But who would have figured Baylor also falling too?
That's what we were expecting. The East is the bracket we were expecting everywhere. Where it's like we were going through our brackets and going, man, we went too chalk.
Mm-hmm.
And the East said, yes, you did. Everything else has worked out. But the East has been the enjoyable March Madness bracket for sure. South bracket, again, not a lot there. 1 versus 5 instead of 1 versus 4, not a big deal. The 2 does move on. Nice to see Michigan go on, though. I do think the Wolverines, yes, I forgot to say that. Addie, my 4-year-old, has St. Peter's in the finals because she had 3 15 seeds in Final Four. But she got that one. That was one of the 3 that made it, so she got that nailed. Unfortunately, she had St. Peter's losing to Loyola Chicago in the championship. Loyola Chicago losing to Ohio State in the first round. But it is what it is. But I will say, Michigan being an 11 seed in the Sweet 16, name-wise, not surprising. Juwan Howard coming off of the suspension in the Big Ten tournament, getting a couple games in there. That's why I had them going on to the Sweet 16, because I figured with that kind of a coach, after everything that went down, they were going to be on a decent run. Great game between them and Tennessee. That was a game I watched a lot of. That's a scary 11 seed.
Yeah, and for me, that one, it boiled down to how things happened at the very end. Him comforting, I forget what it was.
So good.
Just for him to see him say, you'll be back. And you can read his lips. He says, you guys will be back. And so that just tells me Howard is a class act. Yes, things kind of got a little crazy.
But that's the thing that us as consumers or just humans need to remember. People make mistakes.
Right.
Heat of the moment is going to make you do something really stupid sometimes. And we can like go against it and say that you're wrong, but one moment's not going to make a person. Exactly. Because Howard swiped at an assistant coach doesn't mean he's a horrible human being. And it shows there. It was just he got caught up in a moment and did something he very much regrets now. He paid his punishment. He's out there now coaching. And, that was a great March Madness moment and one that you will probably be seeing a clip of during the one shining moment.
Exactly. And for me, out of this bracket, I think it boils down to is you had invited me. You were doing another podcast, and you were telling me in the middle, this game's crazy. I turned on the Arizona game because I was busy doing the other stuff, so I only caught the overtime. I think just watching the overtime part was probably by far the best.
You needed to watch the last 10 seconds.
No, I had it on, but I didn't.
So for anybody that not see this, or anybody that did, and we just want to talk about it, so again, we're recording another podcast during it, so I have it off on a side monitor. I'm watching it off and on. TCU has the ball, the game's tied, and they kind of push them up against the half-court line. And I think there's going to be a foul. There's a lot of pushing and bumping, and Arizona does a good job of keeping their hands up. TCU loses control of the basketball. An Arizona player takes it, runs down the court, and decides to dunk the basketball and has the ball over his head going for the dunk as time expired. And we went to overtime. You got to have some awareness.
Yeah.
Now, we got lucky. Arizona wins it in overtime. But it was just one of those moments where it's like, again, not going to say he's not a smart human being, made a mistake. It happens, but man, I'm going for the dunk instead of just toss it up.
Toss it up, let it fall.
A weird game. And then you had that one Arizona player turn around and elbow himself. Like the one elbow is just up in the air. It's not even moving. He turns around, bumps it. It didn't even look like it was that big of a hit. It opened him up like a faucet. And that was quite the break that they had there as well. We go to the Midwest. Again, nothing too crazy when you just look at the names, but then you realize that Iowa State and Miami both double-digit seeds. So a 10 seed and 11 seed over there in the Sweet 16. So Kansas honestly looks like they have a pretty open path now that Auburn's been knocked out, that Wisconsin's been knocked out. Providence is a 4 seed, but I do think that's a weaker 4 seed.
I didn't have Richmond either. I mean, I thought Iowa was going to be the bigger game out of there. That was not the 5-12 I had figured. I thought it was going to be Iowa in that one. So
I had Richmond twice, and I failed that one. So out of the Re-16, are you changing any of your picks? I mean, obviously our brackets are set, and we will talk about how we were doing there. And I think we're doing pretty well on our men's side brackets right now. Nothing, especially with some of the craziness that we have had. But if you were just doing a 16-team bracket, would you change who you have in the finals and who you have winning it?
I don't think so. The only thing I would probably change would be I'd probably take UCLA in the East. You know, I didn't have them there.
Wow, because you can't have Kentucky.
Right.
So
well, who would have figured both Baylor would be out and Kentucky would be out?
Right.
That's like you said, that East side said, haha. Here you go. Hold my beer.
We'll
let me.
in a second.
Yeah.
This is the greatest thing.
So
no, I'm the same. We both have Arizona coming out of the right side of the bracket. I think it'll be between them and Kansas now. And then I think it's just the winner of Gonzaga Duke.
Yeah, I think so too.
Will be the other representative in the championship. You never know. I mean, obviously it's crazy that North Carolina, UCLA, Purdue, or St. Peter's, one of them will be in the final.
I would say here we just said that, and the East said, haha, here we go. I watch for something weird to happen. Maybe St. Peter's just runs the show, and they end up against
St. Peter's versus Providence in the championship. It'd be fantastic. Let's go over how we're doing in the bracket. I am defeating you right now, 40-35 as far as points go. I had 22 of my 32 right in the first round, 9 of the Sweet 16 correct. You had 19 of 32 in the first round, and you have 8 of your Sweet 16 right. So not amazing, not terrible. You look at overall, I have 2 of my final 4 gone, both on the bottom half of the bracket. You just have Baylor gone, so you have a couple chances to make a jump on me. But I just my top half of the bracket makes me laugh because I have all 8 of those 8 versions of the Sweet 16 correct in the West and the South, and then the East and Midwest. Other than Kansas, it's junk. The rest of it's a tale of 2 halves for me on the men's bracket.
Sabota and I were looking at your bracket earlier today, and we just like, how does he have all of those? Every one of them.
I have all of those, but the
bottom half
is so bad.
Garbage.
Also, don't forget, WSU is still alive in the NIT. I forget when they play next, though. Do you remember?
I do not remember when NIT
write
is.
that down. So you look that up real quick. I'll go ahead and tell you that you were listening to the R&R Sports Report on KLCC 88.9 FM Lewiston and KLCC.com. You can also check us out on our Facebook and YouTube pages at the R&R Sports Report. Go follow and like us and subscribe and do all the fun stuff over there. What I say, we're 20-something, 30-something away from 600. And once we hit 600, we will do something stupid.
Yeah, no kidding. Tomorrow, Washington State takes on BYU 6 p.m.
tomorrow.
So it'll be interesting as they are down to their final few eight.
Yeah, I think if they win that game, they go to Madison Square Garden for the Final Four of the NIT.
Yeah, just looking here. What was that? I bumped a different spot here, so
Way to go.
pull up my bracket and I can't
Just
even
way
pull it
to
up.
go.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
BYU, Texas A&M. You know, there's a lot that can happen here. You got Xavier, Vanderbilt. You got Virginia. St.
just
Bonaventure.
barely.
Yeah,
Let's
St.
move on.
Bonaventure.
WSU is still alive. They play tomorrow.
Play tomorrow.
All right, let's look at some local high school sports. Lewiston still undefeated, now 4-0 on the year. Defeated Coeur d'Alene in a doubleheader on the baseball side up at Church Field. They won the first game 10-6. That game made my head melt, and they win the second game 7-3. It made my head melt. I'm calling the game for another station. And it's a great pitcher's duel for the first 4 innings. 5th inning comes, and Lewiston scores 8 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning. They take a 10-1 lead. They just need one more run, and it's a 10-run rule after 5 innings. They have the bases loaded, so the winning run is 90 feet away. Unable to get that run across. All right, we're still up by 9. Coeur d'Alene then scored 4 runs in the top of the 6th inning. I think that game got extended an extra hour because they could not get that one run across from third base. Coeur d'Alene has a pitcher, and I've noticed this a lot in calling a few of these Lewiston games, and it's not just Coeur d'Alene, it's not just Lewiston, but it's a lot that I've seen. If you get runners on base, high school pitchers lose their minds. But there's a Coeur d'Alene pitcher, and I'm not going to name names, and not only because I don't want to, but I can't remember his name. Lewiston would have a runner at second and would lead off to where they were basically behind the field umpire. So they were playing peekaboo behind this umpire. This pitcher, I'm not joking, would put his foot on the rubber, not look at the catcher, just stare at the runner at second base for at least 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds before anything happens. The second baseman and shortstop, for the most part, are not moving. They're just, we don't care. Like the second baseman every so often will take a couple steps. Like, okay, do you want to throw it? What are we doing? Then the pitcher would look over at the catcher and get the sign. And he would look there for a couple seconds and then turn right back to the second baseman for another 10 to 15 seconds while he's getting set. And then at that point, we're now 30 seconds since the last pitch. He might throw it to home, but most of the time he's stepping off and faking the throw to second. That inning took an eternity. And as a solo play-by-play guy for baseball, I had no idea. It was like I was basically doing sponsorship reads. While he was set, he would be set. And I'm thanking sponsors because I got nothing else to talk about. If you were ever against pitch clocks in baseball, that kid would change your mind.
Well, we're in agreement with Idaho having a shot clock. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, it's that time of year. But, it's totally different. It sounds totally different than the one kid from Lewiston that we watched the other day.
He was one of the kids that pitched extremely well to start that game.
Yeah, get the ball, throw it.
Yeah, Killian Fox has been very good on the mound. A couple good pitchers for Lewiston. All teams right now kind of the feel-out process. Right. There's a lot of teams I've talked to working down at the Tribune where they haven't even seen grass as far as practices go. Troy played their first game last night, and the coach told me that's the first time we've played on or practiced at all on grass, that we have stepped foot on grass for a participation with the high school baseball team this year because they've had to practice indoors or in parking lots because the grass isn't ready or it's too wet or snow's still on the ground or it's been a mess. Yeah. It's been a complete mess. Lewiston will be down at Rocky Mountain High School for a little tournament down there. They'll play 4 games. They play Highland and Idaho Falls on Friday, Madison and Rocky Mountain on Saturday, and hopefully they will come back home now 8-0, but with some good competition down south.
Cross your fingers. We look at Clarkson. Clarkson's kind of the same way. They, I think they came out guns blazing on Friday because after the shellacking, and I hate to say that about my team, that but they just got handled by Lewiston, and I know darn good and well they went back to the drawing board that Monday after that game and recouped and did and come out with a huge win over Kellogg there on Friday, 16-4. Didn't get to watch the game as I was up in Spokane watching Demitri and Brian, but Tiger Carringer comes out, hit the ball hard the entire time. I talked with Coach Bruce Benching today about how some of the games went, and he said, these guys are starting to figure things out. So, I mean, that's always what's going to happen when you go against like Lewiston. A lot more players, you get in there, the talent's a little bit better, but scoring, they only ended up playing one game. It was supposed to have been a doubleheader, but scheduling kind of screwed that up a little bit. So Bantam's 1-1 on the season. Their next game is going to be Friday, and it's going to be a single. They're at home as they host in the East Valley Knights at Adams Field, 4:00. So if you're wanting something to do, go down there to Adams Field and watch a little baseball.
On the softball side, Lewiston, I believe, is 1-0. Idaho Sports does not have a record for them, but they played a non-league game last week, I do believe, and they won that one. They played a doubleheader today against Coeur d'Alene up at Airport Park. I've not seen any scores yet. Coeur d'Alene is very, very good softball team as well. Yes. They're 3-0 on the year, and I think they've been outscoring their opponents like 9-2 in those 3 wins. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. Either way, they will also be in a 4-game tournament down at Capital this weekend. They'll be playing Bora and Capital on Friday, and Hawaii and Mountain View, on Saturday. Very, very good softball team for Lewiston as well.
Yeah, and for Clarkson, they're still young. They're very young, and they came out with a couple of big wins over Kellogg this last week, 14-0 and 14-11. So excited to see them. They don't have another match until Thursday. Saw them out there practicing today. Shane Burke and the team out there working hard. They have a single game against also the East Valley Knights on Thursday up at Lincoln Middle School, 4:00. If you're looking for something to do there, come on up and watch the girls play. As far as the Soden, for baseball, we didn't have any scores turned in yet. I'm going to get on Coach Jim Holman about that. So hopefully he starts getting some stuff to us. But for the softball side, they had a game today at 3:00, and it was a single game against Pullman. So no score has been reported for that yet. Then they will host Saturday. So out there to Soden, they'll host in Kettle Falls. It is a doubleheader. It'll start at noon, and go out there to a Soden and watch that one. They've changed that field a lot. It's starting to look a lot better than what it did years ago. So if you're interested in that, go out there. And then they hit the road on Tuesday. Before our show, they'll be up at your favorite place, Northwest Christian, as one of those team names that is extremely long and where they're at. So they will have a doubleheader on Tuesday, 2:30 and 4:30.
Okay, you ready for rant with Randy?
Sure. What are we ranting about right now?
Baseball is my favorite sport, right?
Baseball, baseball is our favorite sport. We're the same way.
Now working more on the media side,
right,
and working at the Tribune, they're making me dislike baseball. And it's showing here again where we can't report scores. And it goes with softball too.
Right.
Now, reporting, like high school reporting up here, in the Pacific Northwest, it's not the biggest area. We're not going to get the most coverage. Everything's pretty spread out. So I get all that. Football is hit or miss.
Right.
Basketball's gotten a bit better as far as reporting scores as the game gets done. NFHS has worked wonders for both sports, where you can at least get on there, check it out. Football still, there's a lot of schools that have no scoreboard on there, so you're just looking at a field, you don't know what's going on. Basketball still has issues where the wrong team will have their camera linked. So I'm looking at an empty gym that's in the dark. So still kinks to work out. Baseball needs to come up with a different way to report scores. Oh, Denny.
He's already. Congratulations, sir.
Yes.
We were just talking. Neither one of us has talked to you yet, but congratulations on your honor, sir.
Denny, thank you so much. And also, running up the worst contract. That's a really bad contract. It's not on there, but stick around. We need you to be the judge.
Just
and
vote for me.
then the owner of the Grubhub up there at Harris Field. That's what I'm going to call it. That just I don't care if it's the official name or not. But Game Changer is garbage as far as the way it's all set. Even if you want to view it as a guest, you can't see the box scores without paying. It's a complete mess. None of the teams seem to know how to use it. By the way, coaches, stop giving it to your freshmen to run the scores. Please, I beg you, just give it to anyone.
Well, they used to give it. Bruce used to have an official scorebook, and that was Jerry McCarter.
Yes.
Jerry,
was fantastic.
Jerry, get back out there and be doing stuff.
But it's not even just that. Give it to a parent,
Mhm.
not a freshman, because they don't. There was a game that I had to put into the paper where it was, I forget the other team name, but they're playing like the Lewiston JV, and it said Lewiston JV won 3-1, and the way the Lewiston JV scored all 3 runs was stealing home. So basically a pass ball, but they didn't put it as a pass ball. But it's a complete mess. We never know it's on what the full thing is. Most coaches on the other team just put initials, which does not help me for my job at all. And then I have to go search for rosters, and then I put the name in incorrectly, and then I get yelled at by other parents. But that's not here nor there. This is what we are trying to do: is expand, the outreach to these sports, the high school sports. That's part of it. To LC sports. Can we come up with a more unified way to report these damn scores? The fact that Max Preps and Idaho Sports, you might get a score, is frustrating. Like, can we make athletic directors more SIDs?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. And you and I have dealt with this many ways where we've done PA, we've done radio for different venues, different things. They have people that work and get paid to do scorebook, get paid to do score clock for football, for basketball, for wrestling. Me being one of them, being a PA announcer. I get paid, not much, but I get paid to go and announce people's name and do it right. Why are we not hiring one person to do that for baseball? Why are we not hiring Jerry Jerry to go and sit at the game and do the thing? He's retired. I mean, there's a lot of those people that we have out there. Why are we not doing that way? Athletic directors, why are we not doing that? Sal out of the Soden, why are we not doing that?
100%.
Corey, why are we not doing this?
Also, if you're going to have a school website and you're going to have a section on your school website,
update everything, please.
That has sports information, and you click on roster and it goes, update the roster. If the coach is too busy to do it, give it to the athletic director. Athletic director, that one you can give to a student. It can be part of a class.
Well, so I was told, and I don't remember if I told you this or not, and Shannon Wilson, and with the change of GSL, and we're now GSL, not GNL anymore. It's not the Greater Northwest League anymore. It's now the Greater Spokane League, which we're a part of. Yeah. And they have their own thing, and they put in their names and their rosters, all of that. He told me at the very beginning, because I told him there's some things that were different for both basketball. There was stuff that was football that was not right. And he told me in the middle of football or basketball season that he can't stay up on getting it fixed. He says, I'm putting your name on as one of the administrators next year. I'm like, fine, I know it'll get fixed.
As long as I get information.
It'll get fixed.
And I get it. It's not a college, it's a high school.
No,
so you're not going to be able to hire somebody like Alicia, who does an absolutely fantastic job. Her and her interns are up on it.
So there we go. Why couldn't we get her to get a couple of interns and spread them out?
Spread them out. You cover Clarkson.
Yeah.
You cover.
Why not?
Yeah. I don't know.
I can see it.
Yeah. Let's just put other people on jobs. I'm just saying. I would like a better way for everything is focused and maintained better. Parents are always getting on other people's cases about you're not covering this, you're not covering that. We can only cover what we're given, and it's a complete mess from what we're trying to find. Some coaches, absolutely fantastic. So other coaches, they're quieter. They don't really want to talk. That's totally fine. Give us a way where it's all there.
Mhm.
Like we wouldn't even have to bug coaches other than a quote or two if Game Changer wasn't complete trash.
And that was the idea behind Scorebook Live. And that Scorebook Live, you got to have somebody sitting there. And for us, we didn't even have a Scorebook Live person at all this last year at all, because Taylor Ziegler, he was doing it for basketball. He did it for football because he sat right next to me in both venues. So I saw him there. That's how I know you got a couple of your information when I was doing
it was updating football.
Right. And so when we did the postseason for basketball, we had the guy that was running it was sitting right next to Pete Williams and we were calling Clarkson's district game and where West Valley won, and he was doing it. So there's a flaw somewhere, and where we find that flaw to fix
it's going to take a lot of work to get everything organized.
And that's the thing.
Somebody has to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, right.
It's not me, but I'm throwing it out there in the air for anybody that's more organized and more motivated than the two of us combined.
Right. Exactly.
This would be a fantastic project for somebody. Real quick, high school tennis. They also had the Larry McDonald Tennis Invitational. They changed the name this year.
McConnell.
What'd I say?
McDonald.
McDonald. Is that what I said? Sorry. Larry McConnell, Clarkson tennis coach for a very, very long time.
Sure missed that guy. I saw his wife, Denise, today. I've seen her. She's been up at the school a couple times here in the last week. But sure missed that guy.
But usually it's a Lewiston invite. That was what it was called back in the day when I finished third place in the thing.
I think it was the Fazari's tournament when I was there playing.
No, Fazari's is an LC thing.
I
LC runs the Fazari's tournament. That's usually in August. I was there for like the second one ever. It was a long back in my day. But Lewiston ends up winning that invitational. They had 9 different individual event wins. It's the 38th year of the Lewiston invite for the high schools. And again, the first time with the new name. I think they had 12 schools there. Only 8 were able to qualify as far as team scores. I know Clarkson just missed out because I think they're missing one of the mixed doubles or something. But fantastic tournament still.
Yeah, and this is a lot's going on with that too. I mean, missing out with extra players, they will jump to it really quick, and we didn't even put it in the nose. But Clarkson soccer had to cancel another tournament today, or a game today. They missed one the other day because the lack of numbers. And same thing again today. They were supposed to travel to East Valley, and again, no game today. Yeah. So it's sad to see that. So
yeah, there's a lot going on. That has been the toughest part of working at the Tribune now, because I think the fall you have football and volleyball and soccer and some other stuff, but it's there. Every single sport has a completely different setup here, and it's beat me up. But you are listening to the R&R Sports Report on KLCC 88.9 FM. Lewis, it's currently 58 degrees outside. It's getting to spring weather.
Dude, have you been watching outside? We were watching for Brian and Demitri, and it was just seeing how many people in and out fluctuating down here in the amphitheater.
Spring is awesome. In the air. It's rain has been in the air as well, but that's part of, I guess, the spring air. Also, I've said it multiple times. I'm going to keep saying it. Yep. R&R Sports Report on Facebook and YouTube. We're getting very close to 600.
I already had, just sitting here from the interview a few minutes ago, I've already had Dimitri's mom friend request me and has already liked our page. Just nice. And so, I mean, it's cool. I mean,
because she wants to see you get trained by Demitri. That's what I want.
Get me crushed.
That'd be great. I'll stand on the outside. I'll root you on. That'd be so great. Wait. Okay, so we're going to get into the NFL here in a second, but as the person that's going to win this popularity contest as far as who's going to go into the cage, we already know this. Yeah. That's why I'm offering it.
I already know I'm going to end up.
As then your manager that's going to go out there and on the outside try to root you on. Where do you want me to go? Do you want me with the Jim Cornette tennis racket? No, do you want me with the Paul Heyman 1980s phone?
No, I want you packing my belt. I'm gonna walk out with
the newer Paul Heyman.
Yes, the newer one, packing my WWE title.
So I have to get that Brock Lesnar. So I go practice that for the next little bit. It's gonna be so much fun.
Oh my Lord.
It's gonna be so much fun sitting back recording.
Listen, we've had Jared on the show,
Mhm.
and Friday night was the first night that I had actually seen Jared in person. And we've messaged back and forth over the last like 6 months, 8 months, with stuff with the show and all that. And I know he's listening right now, but to actually stand next to that guy on Friday, I was like, holy cow. And I'm a big guy too, but I was like, dude, this guy is taller than me. He's got a heck of a lot bigger hand. I mean, just shaking his hand, I was like, holy.
No, imagine getting punched by
Yeah,
him.
no thanks.
All right, let's get into the NFL, and let's start with somber news. John Clayton passing away on Friday at the age of 67. Obviously, a huge staple of ESPN, especially on the football coverage.
Mhm.
Always had that very noticeable voice, a little nasally.
Right.
Not making fun of it, but it was always, if he was coming in on podcasts, you could always tell when John Clayton was talking.
Yeah, him and Sean Salisbury, when they did their little thing, you could tell
Mhm.
who it was and
Oh, yeah.
what he was saying.
The humor on that guy, just based on his ESPN commercials. Obviously, my favorite one with "Mom, I'm done with my segment" thing, where he pulls down the ponytail because he's balding and stuff. Absolutely fantastic. Sadly, never got to obviously meet the guy in person, but a big loss as far as NFL insiders go.
Yeah, he was one of the starters. I mean, he started in '95, so he was there a few years after ESPN had started, but there till 2017 when he was let go.
Mm-hmm.
But I think besides being that guy that was kind of a staple in that segment with Salisbury, in which back and forth, if you listen to some of those things, it was unbelievable. But I think the biggest one was his whole. He kind of spilled the beans about Chuck Noll and them practicing in pads back in 1978. He was a beat writer then for Pittsburgh, and read an article about that the other day, and just how they were cordial, but they were never best of buddies after John kind of put one of the best coaches out there and said, "You're cheating, dude."
So the NFL free agency and offseason continues to be the giant headlines. As we get into that, it never fails that another sport will have a headline, and within 10 minutes, the NFL's like, oh wait, hold on, here's this trade, here's the site. It's like they have them just in their back pocket. It's like, I know you have a trade, don't announce it yet. Oh, baseball's best player just got signed. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll run through a lot of this stuff. Obviously, the big one, Browns trading for Deshaun Watson, and the dumbest thing, and a 5th-round pick in 2024, because that's going to be a big difference. They give up 3 first-round picks, a 3rd-rounder, and a 4th-rounder, and then Cleveland giving Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract.
Yeah, I mean, that's just nuts. And then they go out and sign Jacoby Brissett, that I think a day later. So basically it says, all right, Baker, you've been nice to the city. It's not going to be a 3-horse race.
No, Baker was done before this.
Right.
So Deshaun, Cleveland was interested in Deshaun, and Baker went, well, I guess we're done. And then Deshaun went, no. And Baker still went, we're still done. So then Cleveland upped everything, and I'm pretty sure went, well, we were going to fully guarantee you all of this money. So Deshaun went, well, I don't want to play in the cold, but I think I can warm up $230 million. And ended up going to Cleveland. I know his first year is not a lot of money because they are very much expecting for him to get suspended for at least half of the year. No word on that just yet, and that's why they bring in Jacoby Brissett to kind of fill out that time. But Watson is the future, and Baker's gone. They haven't found a home for him yet, but Baker will be gone and traded somewhere.
Yeah,
a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round pick.
And for me, when I typed that, okay, where does Baker go? That was before the news that happened today, because I thought, okay, that would be a good spot for him to move to, and that got handled as the Colts end up signing or getting Matt Ryan in a trade. Yeah, so I mean, I thought, that would be a good fit for Baker, maybe to go into Indianapolis, go play for Frank Reich for a little bit, and then Matt Ryan, here you go. You're leaving Atlanta and going there. So, I mean, as a person that I went and saw him play there, I mean, what makes sense for Baker? Where makes sense for for that man to go play.
Well, the XFL's coming out next year. So, I mean, that's a decent spot for him to go.
Maybe he ends up in
He
USFL.
could be the first pick in the XFL draft. He can go to the Seattle Seahawks. I would lose it. I would love it so much. Our buddy Teresa Duffenberg has threatened to block me on Facebook because I've been teasing that so much. I've even found a picture of Baker Mayfield put into a Seattle uniform and sent it to her. Who cares? I don't think Baker is that good.
No. Oh, and I don't. Well, there's a lot of people that don't think he's that good either. So it'll be an interesting one there. So also they get Ngakoue.
There you go.
So I like what the move that he did there. So
Colts are going to be very good. I am getting so sick and tired of every good move going to the AFC. Every single time. Bills get Von Miller. Ravens get Patrick Ricard.
He stays.
Raiders get Devontae Adams. Well, he could have went to the NFC. Anybody go to the NFC, please. The only person that stayed is Jameis Winston is because the AFC didn't want him.
For 2 more years, he's a Saint.
The only reason Fournette stays with Tampa Bay is because of Tom Brady. Even the best offensive lineman free agents out there, Teron Armstead, before our show, goes to Miami. Everyone went to the AFC. Did I send you that thing before our show last week? That money spent on free agents. This was like 3 days into free agency. The NFC had spent $200 million on, obviously, over many years on a lot of people. The AFC was over $1 billion. And that's without the Deshaun Watson thing, or the Armstead thing for $75 million, or the Von Miller thing for $120 million. They're going to be over $2 billion spent in the AFC.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
The Devontae Adams signing after they traded for him is just, as a Jets fan who is very happy with what they did last year, is very happy with what they've done in free agency so far. They filled some decent spots, and with all the draft picks that they have, they didn't go crazy and overspend on people like Jacksonville did. They still have plenty of money in the cap. They are looking for 2-3 years from now as Zach Wilson matures. Zach Wilson could mature and be a great quarterback and be the 10th best quarterback in the AFC.
Right.
The Jets could be a very solid team and be the 10th best team and not make the playoffs ever in the AFC. Meanwhile, over in the NFC, it's like
Dallas Cowboys.
Every single team over there right now thinks they can make the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
Every single team.
Just ask a Cowboy fan. Especially after
Cowboys have always felt that way because the NFC East has always been garbage, but now the entire NFC is the NFC East.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you got Michael Gallup who signs for 5 years. Yes, local boy. Let's give a little shout out for Leighton. He does sign only a 1-year deal. Little shocked with that. I know he had a little bit of injury, but maybe he moves to the AFC.
Robert Woods goes to the Titans. I forgot about that one because nobody cared. What do you think of the new broadcasting moves?
Dude, I don't know. It's weird to think that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are going to be calling Monday Night Football instead.
Yeah, Haley's talking about her team. Yeah, they brought back Aaron Rodgers, but no one to throw it to him. Which I have to send you a clip of the Tom Grossi guy, that's the big Packers guy.
I actually started following him on YouTube.
Good. He's so funny.
After the last video that you sent me, I decided to start following him on there. So
he's a very funny guy. So Al Michaels going to Amazon Prime Video to call Thursday night games because they have that package going on.
I don't have Amazon Prime.
Well, you better get it.
Why don't?
Better get it.
If I get Amazon Prime, I'm in trouble because the wife already gets mad at me when I'm on eBay or on anything else looking for buying anything.
You don't have to buy anything.
Well, I know, but that's the problem.
There's a bunch of movies and stuff on there.
Don't tell her that. She's already looking for a new series to watch on Netflix and Hulu.
Amazon Prime, go watch The Boys. Make sure none of the kids are around because it is not kid friendly. The Boys, we've only watched the first season of it, but The Boys is a superhero movie, but the superheroes are all jerks. again, college radio, so I can't say the word that I want to say. But it's basically if all superheroes realize that they have all the power,
right,
and nobody can stop them, so they just abuse their power. And it's very gory, very adult oriented, but very, very entertaining. So Al Michaels goes there. So what happens with Sunday Night Football? We've not been.
I heard.
that
No, I heard, and I don't know how 100%. Chris Collinsworth will stay. Mike Tirico bumps up, and he will be.
I like Mike Tirico.
I love Mike Tirico.
And
I still don't like Chris Collinsworth.
So everyone bags on Chris Collinsworth, and I understand why a little bit, because he does seem to say the most obvious things, but that's his job. His job is to explain it to the non-football person, and when you're on Sunday Night Football, the show that gets the biggest rating every single week, that means you're getting a lot of people that don't watch football regularly. That's his job, is to explain it to them, which is why everyone hated Michael Cole at WWE, because they were trying to bring in new fans, so they made him explain everything. And more normal wrestling fans, oh, you're just talking down to us. No, he's trying to explain it to the non-initiated.
I think for me, it's got to be. I don't like him because I compare him to probably the best color guy, and we've had this. The best color guy you ever will have will always be John Madden. I mean, for me, I mean that's just how my Sundays were, and to listen to that guy and what he could do. And so I think that's my bad part, is I try to compare him to that instead of letting these new guys come through, these new ones. Kind of like the whole Pat McAfee thing now, trying to do the WWE thing. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like that. I got to take the blinders off, let him do his thing, and learn it.
Well, Pat's there to bring the excitement.
Right.
John Madden was there to bring the excitement. Go back and watch an Al and Madden broadcast. Okay. Madden is there to dumb it down for the people. That whole telestrator thing is to kind of break down how plays work. That's exactly what is happening now. It's just Madden, I think, is a bit more entertaining, and the boom and all that stuff. I think he was more loud and boisterous.
Right.
But that's I think what the color's job is supposed to be, is give the players take, give you an inside look for us that are really into the sport, and also have the knowledge enough to be able to say it in layman's terms for somebody that just doesn't watch the sport as much. I think that's what we get when we watch Aussie Rules football too. Is the color guy then explains, okay, this is why they did it.
Right.
It's like, you see this crazy play, and if you've never seen it before and you don't know what's going on, this is why. And I think that's what we're getting from Chris Collinsworth. And when your voice has been out there as long as his, or as long as Joe Buck. I mean, Joe Buck has now become a very hated person just because Joe Buck is everywhere. He's all over baseball. He's all over football. So for 8 months, that's all you hear is Joe Buck. So everyone gets tired of it. But Chris Collinsworth has been on Sunday Night Football for a very long time. It'd be nice to get him changed up on a roll just to get new voices out there. But I don't mind Chris Collinsworth. But speaking of Joe Buck, now the voice of Monday Night Football, sticking with Troy Aikman, so they leave Fox and do Monday Night Football. Thoughts on that?
It's going to be interesting listening to both of those guys just on Monday night. I'm more into knowing what they were starting to push with Peyton and Eli, and so now how does
that's still going?
I know it's still going, but now how does that change the realm? Does that change the realm a little bit of having, 4 big names calling one game? I mean, it's going to be a little different. I'm glad it's not Booger McFarland sitting there on the sideline, because let me tell you, I get tired of listening him on just in the morning shows with Greenberg. I mean, he just drives me. Yeah.
No, I think with ESPN, they basically went, because they've lost a lot of their programming.
Right.
And so it's like, all right, well, we can have coverage on ESPN and ESPN2, both covering Monday Night Football. We'll give you the normal broadcast, and we'll give you this laid back deal where 80% of the time they're not even talking about it. And it's just 2 different tastes that you want. Right. And I'm totally fine with that too. Let's move on to the NCAA women's bracket, as there's only 2 10 seeds left, and there's no one worse. So there's not been a ton of upsets on the women's bracket, which is more so the case, I think, on the women's side than the men's side. But Creighton and South Dakota both move on. Of course, Creighton would have been the few that have just messed up my whole dang bracket, but they have both moved on. All 4 number 1 seeds are still left: South Carolina, Louisville, NC State, and Stanford. And the one team that has really stood out to me, and I watched their game against Oklahoma, is Notre Dame. They're averaging 98 points a game in their 2 games this tournament. They scored over 100 points against Oklahoma in that win. They will face NC State on Saturday, the top seed there. I think that's going to be a fantastic game.
Yeah, that one by far is going to be the best game in there. But it's going to be a high scoring game. I wouldn't be half surprised. I haven't looked at the over under on that one, but I would be shocked if it's not over 140 already.
Right.
Easily.
If it's only 140, I'm taking the over.
Oh yeah, if it stays 140, which I have not looked, but I would easily put that. I think this one is probably the most intriguing side to me. If you look at the rest of them, UConn, NC State, Notre Dame, and Indiana. I mean,
right.
I think it's going to be a star-studded finish in that one there at the Bridgeport.
Yeah, kind of cool that we get South Carolina versus North Carolina in Greensboro. I think that's going to be a raucous crowd for the women's game. Louisville, Tennessee, a lot of history there as well. Very cool matchups in Spokane. If you want to go watch some women's basketball this weekend, Stanford and Maryland, Ohio State, Texas. I think those will both be pretty good matchups. Looking at our brackets, I am defeating you in this one as well. So as you beat me in both the NAI brackets, I'm beating you so far here.
Dude, this one was ugly.
You're 22. You went 22-10 in the first round. That's not terrible. Second round a bit rougher. You only have 6 of your Sweet 16 that survived. You did only lose 1 of your Final 4 so far, and your finals are still intact. So there's still a lot of points out there. You only lost Baylor. We both lost Baylor and Iowa in our Elite 8. Your key game, as far as trying to catch me, obviously NC State and Notre Dame, as I have Notre Dame winning, and you have NC State as your finalist.
Right.
So that's going to be a big key one for us. And also Tennessee and Louisville, as you have Tennessee winning and I have Louisville in the Final 4. So if you want to catch me, those are the 2 ones that you're probably going to have to get right. For me, I'm very proud of this. I went 25-7 in the first round. Now, I only went 9 of the 16 in the Sweet 16. But when you look at my right side of the bracket, it's very, very clean.
It's pretty.
Princeton is the only Sweet 16 team on the right side of the bracket that I got wrong, and they only lost to Indiana by a point.
Yeah.
I was really close to having a perfect right side of the bracket, and I only lost 4 games in the first round. One of them was Washington State, who had the lead on Kansas State. Very low-scoring game in that first half. Washington State still continued to struggle shooting. Kansas State finally able to get things going, and were able to get the win there.
It was a 10-point game, 50-40. So interesting. I think this is probably the cleanest side I've seen a bracket
I'm
in a long time. So
we won't talk about the left side of the bracket, but the right side of the bracket really good. Quick update before we move on to baseball. Both the NAIA championships have been decided. On the women's side, Thomas More is your champion. They defeat Dorn. I love Dorn. I don't even know if that's how you say it.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm saying it. Thomas More wins 77-65, and on the men's side, Loyola dominated the whole way through. They beat Talladega 71-56. So congratulations to both of those teams for winning the titles there. All right, let's get to the MLB offseason that continues to go nuts, and can the Yankees do absolutely nothing? And it's rough. I know, poor Yankee fan, but
I wasn't going to say anything.
Just they've done nothing. I feel like they need to as the AL East continues to get tougher and tougher. They might be the 4th best team in that division, and they have to be lucky Baltimore's there.
Yeah.
But Trevor Story ends up going to Boston for 6 years, $140 million. Carlos Correa,
I think that's the bigger one for me.
To Minnesota, 3-year, $105 million. Nick Castellanos goes to the Phillies for $100 million over 5 years. 1-year deal for Kenley Jansen to Atlanta. That's a typical closer deal. He gets $16 million. Freddie Freeman, as kind of expected, does go to the Dodgers after the Braves made the trade for Olsen.
Yeah, they hosed him.
The fact that he had no clue, like he was shocked by it, is telling. 6 years, 162 million there. Chris Bryant, a lot of people thought maybe to Seattle. I think we both did. 7 years, 182 million to go to Colorado. It's a good bat to have in that high altitude. And then Pete Alonso today signed a 1 year, $7.4 million deal. And then the one trade that happened, I wouldn't say big trade, but Yankees do trade away Luke Voit. Not surprising after they get Anthony Rizzo back. He goes to the Padres. That's a good home for him, I think. And the Yankees get one of the first-round picks from a couple years ago, a very young pitcher who struggled a little bit in high A last year, but it's a flyer pick for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think for me, like I said, the one that stands out's got to be the Correa deal. I mean, 3 years to go to Minnesota. That was the last
they
place
just
I
traded their
thought.
best pitcher in the fall, and you're just okay. Minnesota's going to sell. And they make the deal with the Yankees, where Josh Donaldson goes, but they get Gary Sanchez, and they traded Garver too. So you're thinking Minnesota's selling. They went nuts all of a sudden. They're going to be a team to beat in the AL Central. We'll do our preview here. Maybe start next week. I have to start looking at the schedule because everything getting all messed up. But
it's a mess.
It'll be very, very interesting.
How do you feel about the couple of rule changes that came out that they are keeping the ghost runner rule? I know is still going to exist in 2022 during the regular season. So
I do love that they call it a ghost runner.
Yeah. So
that's what we called it when we were kids.
Yeah. There's a ghost man. There's a man on second already. Well, no, there's not. He's not standing there.
No, it's just if you and I were playing pickup ball and I hit a double. All right, the guy's still there, but I have to go walk my butt over and go hitting it.
I think the bigger one that I was shocked to see, in which it reminds me of high school ball.
Yeah.
Maybe to think about and they're calling it it's probably going to be named this, and from what the article that I read, but the Shohei Ohtani rule.
Yeah.
Meaning if you're the pitcher and you're batting in the DH spot, now that we have DH on both sides, and you are lifted for a pitcher, a new pitcher coming in, you can still stay in and bat.
Yeah, and it makes great sense because we want more of this. We don't want less. We don't want to hinder pitchers that want to hit, because you got to think Mad Bum will want to hit. Will his team let him is a whole other question. But we want to see more people like Ohtani that can do it on both sides of the plate. It's just more entertaining, I think, for the sport.
Right.
So don't hinder it where, okay, you're pitching, but once you're pulled, you can't hit anymore. And then if they wanted to be real strict, well, you just weren't using your DH at all. So now these other pitchers have to hit, and it just messes everything up. So it's just basically, okay, it's like you said, high school rules where for high school, you could have the DH or not, and then whoever you want would just be in your 10th spot and then not hit. Or like Coeur d'Alene did today or this weekend, you would just put whatever position /DH. So that's what Ohtani would be, is pitcher /DH.
And like Denny's saying, the college has had it for a long time, DH rule. And
it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. I have no problem with it. And we want more people like Ohtani.
So do you think that opens up, because you see more of that at least in the foreign side, you see a lot more of that happening. So do you see the MLB reaches out farther to those teams in Japan and these teams overseas?
Well, especially when Ohtani gets paid a ton of money. Absolutely. All right, let's get into it. Denny's still here. He was talking about Chris Davis, who was on the fringe for one of my worst contracts in MLB history. It was not one that I picked. So, Denny, stick around. You're going to be our judge today. I have won the last two, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I won the college basketball venue, and I won the biggest sports. It says update here, but it's the biggest sports upset. Biggest sports update. Of course, I'm going to win that one. Jordan Brown gave me
Jordan Brown
a couple weeks ago.
No, that's a failure.
So it is. I picked the last one as the biggest sports upset. So it is your turn to come up with the topic.
So this one has to be the for me, with everything moving and shaking in both the NFL side and the MLB side. I decided, okay, let's see what was the biggest free agent bust in Major League history. So that's where we're going to go tonight. I got to pick the topic, so you, sir, had the first pick.
And I got to go with the easiest one out there.
That was the easiest one.
Mike Hampton, who I believe where was he playing before? He was with the Astros, and then went to the Mets in 2000.
He was with the Braves too.
He went to the Braves after this deal. The Braves is where he ended up after this deal completely imploded. My captain went to Colorado, the graveyard for pitchers. But the reason why it was the biggest bust ever was they gave him 8 years, $121 million. Again, this is 2001. And an unheard of contract in a stadium where your pitching means nothing because you're giving up a ton of runs anyways. He had 5.75 ERA and just 62 starts with the Rockies. And like you said, 2 years later, he was playing for Atlanta.
Yeah, it was nuts. I think that's probably one of the easiest ones out there that kind of flopped it. I also went with a pitcher, but I went with Jason Schmidt. When he signed Jason Schmidt. Yes, that's what I said. NL Westy, he had a great stint with San Francisco. 6 years with them. He was a 3-time All-Star. He was in the Cy Young talk. He finished 3rd and 4th in 2 of those years.
Uh-huh.
He signs a big 6-year deal, or I'm sorry, a 3-year deal for $47 million when he was with in 2007 signed that deal. And he comes out, he pitches in just 10 games of the 3-year deal, going 3-6 with a 6.02 ERA, and was had 30 strikeouts to 26 walks.
But do you know why?
Yeah, he got hurt.
Which is why it's not a bust. It's unfortunate.
He played like garbage though.
He was injured.
Well,
They noticed an injury after a few starts. He goes on the IL or the DL back then, which was what it should be still called.
it should it should still be the DL.
Comes back, is still not right. So the numbers are unfair because the man was injured the entire time. It's an unlucky signing, I think, not a bust to me. I think if somebody gets injured, it's an unlucky deal. My 2nd round pick, easy. How about the Panda? Going to Boston, which of course makes me happier. 5-year, $95 million. Again, that's the stuff that I stick on as far as a bad deal. The length and the amount of money. The fact that they still owed him like $70 million when they cut bait with him, that they still have to pay because there's a baseball contract and everything's guaranteed.
Kind of like the Bobby Bonilla thing, right?
Well, at least they spread that out with like $1 million. Speaking of, did you see that Ken Griffey Jr. is like the 5th highest paid player right now for the Cincinnati Reds? Because he kind of has that same deal as Bobby Bonilla. And it's just ridiculous. Oh, there you go. Schmidt, Borden, Lewiston, according to Denny Grubb. Why don't you have that in your notes?
Well, I
Because
could.
you didn't know who Jason Schmidt was. But anyways,
Really?
Pablo Sandoval, obviously.
I'm going to put you in the
big
you're going to be in there with that ring with Jared.
I'm not going to win that vote.
Demitri.
That's just how it is. 245 average, just 10 home runs on 126 games played in that first year with Boston. Big Panda, big home run hitter, got 10 home runs with the big green monster out there in left field. Then the next year, unlucky, misses all but 3 games. But then comes back, is healthy, but 95 pounds heavier to the point where he's breaking a belt when he swings. Bats .212 in 32 games and gets designated for assignment. You get designated for assignment when you're getting paid $20 million a year. That's bad.
Yeah, maybe. I think the big one for me was in
this one
yeah,
apart.
I know you are, because in the mid 2000s everybody was wanting to see what and experience what was going on because how many of these Japan players or how many of these international players were starting to come over, how are they going to compare to Ichiro? And everybody was trying to compare to that and on all the pictures. And so your New York Yankees.
I will always say Ichiro's the best.
He is.
Who's the second best?
I would say Ichiro is still number 1.
I said he's number 1. Who's number 2?
Let's see. Well, it's not this guy.
Hideki Matsui.
Maybe
Maybe I'd have to do research, but I loved Matsui. Matsui was fantastic.
I was more.
This
of a
guy
Hideo. I
was
more
not
of a Hideo-
fantastic.
I was more of a Hideo Nomo guy. Watching that
He wasn't
slow.
very good.
But I took your guy Kei Hagawa He signs. He comes over. Yes. Okay. Your team.
Okay.
No bashing because
I'm
the
gonna
contract.
bash.
No, because the contract. He was a reliever then.
Okay.
He signed a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
For $20 million.
Yeah. They opened up a closet and handed him money that was on the floor.
Well, your team always is unloading money.
Yes.
Wherever they want to give money. Yeah,
Which is why this is nothing.
So you're saying it's just a drop in the pail.
It's a 100% drop in the pail. They did not care about this. This was just
Well, here's the thing. This guy goes from being almost a 100-game winner over in Japan in 208 games. So you're roughly 500. He has a 3.4 ERA. Then he comes across the pond and plays in just 16 games. He started 13 of them, and he has 72 innings pitched. He gives up 89 hits, 15 home runs, 53 Ks, and 37 walks with an ERA of 6.66. And he's already got the Devils' numbers.
Yeah.
And he's part of the Devil's curse
And
there.
the Yankees got rid of him, and it didn't hurt them payroll-wise at all.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, they gave him 5 years, and he did nothing in 16 games.
Go look at what the number 5 starter of the Yankees is making right now. I guarantee you, it's about that much.
It's like a revolving door.
Exactly. That's every fifth. Name your fifth starter. The fifth starter doesn't mean anything. You're saying the fifth starter for a team was the worst contract ever. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
it was a whoever player. That's like me saying Luke Voigt was a terrible signing because they ended up trading him. I'm
trying to remember who was the move that made today in the NFL. They signed him and then they released him. It was in Cincinnati. Somebody else. So.
It was a lineman.
Yeah.
Because then they ended up signing somebody else. My third round pick, Josh Hamilton. Again, ballooned because of his home run derby in New York. And everyone thought he was going to then be a Yankee because of it, because the crowd got completely behind him. He had a great season that year with the Rangers. He hit nearly 50 home runs that year. Completely.
They figured him out.
Figure out how to give him some substance stuff and have him fall back onto some personal troubles. But 5 years, $125 million. That is more money per year than Agawa made in his 5 years with the Yankees.
Well, figure about that. The $20 million in 16 games, so he's just under $1 million a game.
Yeah, compared to $125 million for 32 home runs played in 240 games. Angels do make the playoffs that 1 year. He goes 0 for 13. It got so bad that the Angels traded him back to the Rangers, who were in the same division as them. They paid.
You see a lot of that in the ALS.
They paid Josh Hamilton $100 million to piss off. All right, give me your third.
I think.
By the way, I hope you say your last line for this third guy.
No, I'm going to say it right now.
Go for it.
He was one of the most disliked players ever to play the game.
Ever. You were trying to say I think you're trying to say on this team.
No, he was one of this.
He's
even in Cleveland.
We're going to find out.
Chicago.
Denny Grubb, did you like this guy?
I'm taking Albert Bell. I mean, he was one of the most hated players to ever play the game. So
he was jerk.
And in the year he was there, in Baltimore, he played just 2 seasons. Yes, he got hurt with a hip, and so he ended up going out. But for a guy that played was a 5-time All-Star for Chicago,
it's only a 5-time
Cleveland.
All-Star because if you didn't make him an All-Star, he was going to punch you in the face. And if you stood in front of him, Brett Boone, he was going to send you 10 feet towards second base.
Don't say that. Don't say that name to Denise. She'll get upset. You can't bash on her Boone.
I'm not. I'm saying he got bashed by Albert Bell. That's what I'm saying.
So I have Albert Bell on there. So
all right,
that is mine.
All right, Danny, let us know who won. I have Mike Hampton to the Rockies, Pablo Sandoval to the Red Sox, Josh Hamilton to the Angels, Robert has Jason Schmidt to the Dodgers, Kai Igawa to the Yankees, and Albert Bell to the Orioles. Next week, it will be my pick. I have not narrowed it down to the specific topic yet, but it will be WrestleMania themed because it is WrestleMania week.
Right.
So we will do that. Smith, good choice. Bell, good.
I got two, there you go. I got 2 of them already.
Good's not great. So
Dude.
we will see.
Yeah, we'll have our other on that here in a few. But
yeah, it will be WrestleMania based next week. Maybe we'll try to get Doof back in to be our second judge. But no, Danny doesn't understand the rules. Danny just picked himself to win. No, Danny, I have a team, and Hagen has a team, and you got to tell us which team is the best. Danny is
Just
over
say
here
I
just
win.
because he's the Hall of Famer here.
And he-
Winner Mike Hampton. So do I win?
no, come on, no.
Does my team win?
No.
Is that where we're at? I just love Danny Grubb's like they're naming a press box after me. I win. I might even just
Grubhub.
put that winner Danny Grubb. Have fun with
I
that.
want shirts made that say Grubhub.
Yeah.
And we're gonna walk
Just
up
add an
there.
extra beat to it.
Yeah, there you go. Walk up there. Dude, you believe we're down to like 15 minutes and we still haven't talked AFL. We haven't even talked to any of those
We're
yet.
right on time. I'm just
Oh,
waiting
my.
to make sure that Danny officially names Randy's team as the
No.
winner. He
It's
does say
Robert.
the winner is Mike Hampton, which is part of my team.
it
Gives me
is.
a smiley face. Danny's awesome.
I love that guy.
Well, Denny,
He's gonna
works
stew
through his
over it
stuff.
for a minute.
He's still stewing officially.
I
but
bet you he's loading up his computer looking at some stuff.
we need a Denny Grubb database on our draft picks because my winning percentage is fantastic. Aussie rules football. Week 1 in the books. It started off with a rematch of the grand final last year, Melbourne and Western. Ended up the same way. Western has a no.
I'm okay with this. I am perfectly fine with this.
This is a mess. Denny Grubb is making
It,
a
sounds
mess.
it sounds like the
It's a
baseball game.
mockery.
It sounds like the baseball game that happened out in Minnesota this last week with Orfino and
Yeah.
they ended in a
Look at that
tie.
in the baseball game with a tie. I asked him, could you just not have a race the second? Just come up with something. Just, dude, I'll have a race with you for a second to win this one. We'll do that right now. Anyways, Western does have like a 15, 20-minute stretch where they look
Right.
absolutely fantastic. But Melbourne are just too dominant. They win that one 97-71. Your Geelong Cats, I hate to say it.
He looked awesome.
Maybe I will say we don't know how good different teams are. Maybe Essendon is just garbage, but Geelong put on the most dominant performance
They were
in week 1.
they were up 60 at halftime.
Yeah,
And
ties,
so
ties
it was.
are garbage.
And
That's why I hate soccer. There's no ties in sports.
Listen, the Cats came out looking really good. The only thing that scares me is James Cameron did get hurt in the middle of the first quarter. So it'll be interesting to see. He played for another 5 or 6 minutes, and then he was off, and you see him at halftime in street clothes. So hopefully this is not a bad injury, but yeah, they just look totally dominant from start to finish. Your favorite guy, Tom. He had
So
5. I think he had 5 goals that day. I think
So good.
and 2 behind. So it'll be interesting.
I have forgotten to look to see if Buddy Franklin played because I've not watched the highlights for Sydney from their first week yet, but I know they played Geelong this week. He's getting really close to that 1,000 goal mark. I need to look that up here shortly. Of course, all of our teams play in ridiculous times next week, which sucks. But big win for Geelong. Hawthorn getting their first win of the year as well. I can't get too hyped about it because they're playing North Melbourne. Both teams basically are two of the favorites to win the Wooden Spoon. Hawthorn helping themselves out on getting the big win. I messaged Eric after the game. I would love to say that I really liked the defense that Hawthorn played, but it was against North Melbourne. So maybe it was just the team they were playing was so bad that the defense just couldn't help but look good. Have you seen the highlights of this game yet?
I have not seen all
You
the
need
highlights.
to. If you watch the official highlights on the AFO YouTube page, go to the 6-minute mark. You might see the worst kick in the history of all kicks, no matter what sport. And it worked out to be a goal for Hawthorn.
Oh,
All right, I'll just tell you that right now. The best game of the week, Fremantle and Adelaide. I watched the last couple minutes of that game. Fremantle wins 83-82. Again, you can check out the last couple minutes on the YouTube page over there. Fremantle holding on to lead for dear life. Adelaide, with 10 seconds left, just kicks it towards the goal. Just frantically, if they could just get it across for the point, at least they can get a tie and get the 2 points. A player for Fremantle jumps as high as possible. Everyone thinks it's at least a goal. But if it's barely touched, okay, they've tied it. Somehow gets a full hand on it and knocks it away. So we were inches away from at least the tie in that game, which, again, can we get some overtime rules or something in Aussie rules? But nope, Fremantle wins 83-82. Again, our teams, and we add Eric to our teams because he has been a good supporter of this show. Obviously, with schedules changing, he hasn't been able to watch as often, but we still want to represent him here with us. So this week, Thursday at 1:20 in the morning to start week 2. Western will take on Carlton. Friday at 1:50 a.m., Sydney will take on Geelong. And then Saturday at 1:40 a.m., Port Adelaide will take on Hawthorn. I will probably be watching that game on replay when I'm doing doubleheader over there at Harrisfield.
Yeah, my game starts and we're leaving, and John and I are leaving at 6 a.m. on Friday, so I don't see myself staying up to even. I might watch it. Hopefully, I can stream it to the TV game.
I hate that Denny's went quiet with the tie.
I'm okay with a tie.
I'm not taking the tie. I'm putting Denny Grubb wins.
No,
Denny Grubb wins. That's what I'm putting.
Okay.
As the official record. Other sports here, NASCAR was in Atlanta. I hate the new Atlanta. So they repaved it. They've expanded the corners. They've made it like Daytona and Talladega, where they put restrictor plates on there because they were going to go too fast. And they put in the restrictor plate rules. So you get like a Daytona, Talladega pack racing, but they're going 170 miles an hour. And on TV, it looks like they're just walking. It looks so horrible. Yet you still get all the wrecks. And it's just a snail-paced looking race. And it's not the Atlanta of old where they had this terrible pavement back then. And they needed to repave it. But I love the old pavement because you could only get about halfway through a fuel run before you really needed tires. So the strategy involved was always fantastic. And I always loved it. Got rid of all of it. It was like, let's just do this pack racing and hope you survive all the wrecks. And at the end, hopefully you can make the last lap pass. It's garbage. I hate it. Circuit of the Americas road course. First road course of the year is this week. Bowling, Jason Belmonte wins his 4th title of the season, his 29th of all time. He defeats EJ Tackett in the PBA Lubbock Sports Open. It was really sad. After the first day of qualifying, both Kyle Sherman and Brad Miller were in the top 4. And they both failed to make it into the final 16. So they kind of fell off a little bit. Belmonte got really lucky. I think it was in the semifinals. He needed 9 to win, and he threw it through the nose. And he got the last spin to trip to win it. And he got lucky to even scare at 8. But
I'll be watching it when I get home. I hadn't had time to watch it, so I have it saved. So it'll be in. And 2 of my favorite players. I really like EJ Tackett and also Jason Belmonte.
For sure.
Do you put him in the same phrase as Walter Ray now? Are those 2
I think I
at
have
the same?
For a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as greatest of all time, he's up there.
Right.
The fact, yes, he is far below as far as total titles win.
Right.
But he's way past as far as majors won because he lives in Australia.
Yeah.
He's not here for full seasons. He shows up. He's won 4 titles. He's probably played in 7. He's just so good. He's
really good. We look at PGA really quick. The defending champion, Sam Burns, repeats at the Valspar. He shoots 17 under, and he does win over Davis Riley on the second playoff hole. Feel bad for Sam Burns because he bogeys 17, missed a decent shot there. And then on 18 for birdie and the win, you watch the putt. He goes right over the lip on the right side. And so they end up going to playoffs, and Sam Burns holds on, but easily could have finished that one out. Our buddy Joel Damon finishes 5 under, tied for 39th. So he is looking to defend this weekend as he should be in Corrales. Now this is the week that does 2 things going on. So you've got the World Golf Championship in Austin, who Billy Horschel is the defender. And then you also have the Corrales, Punta Cana, which is the tournament that Joel won last year. So he should be there.
Is he not doing the match play tournament?
No, he this is it. I'm assuming he's defending. I have not seen 100% as the tee times have not been set yet. Normal Golf Channel is a little behind on that this afternoon. They still had not put that in yet, so be interesting. How about the news of hearing that Phil Mickelson is not going to be playing at the Masters? Did you hear that?
It's such a mess. When you open your mouth and say stupid things, you get stupid prizes, I guess.
Yeah. So
I think he's just trying to avoid everything.
He's got to be doing something. It'll be interesting. So
I'm trying to find when his tee time is. There it is, 4:18 in the morning. Joel Damon, and he is down there in the Dominican Republic looking to repeat his championship. Breaking news when I went to ESPN to look for the tee time. How about your top-ranked women's tennis player, Ash Barty, at the age of 25, announced her retirement today.
Wow. That's crazy.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's young. That's
Very
way
young.
young. That's crazy. You still got a whole bunch of time ahead of yourself. So interesting there. How about this one? Our man Denny Grubb sends me a copy of Jason Schmidt's baseball card, and here he goes, Lewiston, Idaho, born and raised. That is awesome. That dude is so full of knowledge.
So I should wait because you are bashing on a Lewiston guy.
I wasn't bashing on
You're
a
bashing,
Lewiston,
saying it was the worst free agent bust of all time, and you're bashing on the guy. It's embarrassing.
All right, how about let's just skip over this week in sports history for the 16th through the 22nd, 1908, the quickest world heavyweight title fight between Tommy Burns and Jem Roche, 88 seconds. This one I kind of laughed about. 1929, the Irish Grand National Sweepstakes horse run had 66 horses run it.
I wonder how they did the odds for that. That's a lot of
how do you pass it? Well, in 1929, how do you make odds? And then
you do that. They figured it out.
They had to.
It's all on chalkboard.
But how do you see 66 horses?
You
running
should
around
know.
the
You were
track?
there.
Not that old. Not that old.
Denny, what did they do in
No.
1929 about horse racing? Was it all on chalkboards? Like I think.
Oh. Now you know you just lost by saying that. I win. Go ahead and say it, Denny.
You
I
have
win.
to be an old man to get a press box named after you. All right.
No, my lord. I'm just going to keep going.
Oh, yeah, we got 4
1971,
minutes.
Philadelphia 76ers outscored the Cincinnati Royals 90-8 in one half. 1973, Roberto Clemente was elected into the Hall of Fame 11 weeks after he dies. In 1993, I know we've been kind of somber a couple times, but this was a huge thing that happened. 1993, the tragic boating accident near Orlando down in Tavares, Florida, claims the life of 2 Cleveland Indians, Steve Olin and Tim Cruz, who had died later in the evening as they were at spring training out fishing on a bass boat and hit a dock and all that and have some serious injuries. So tough there. And in 2006 in San Diego, Japan captures the first World Baseball Classic crown, beating Cuba 10-6.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Stop me.
I went really I was kind of lazy with this one, but
Okay.
I did say 1908 was the quickest world heavyweight title fight. What is the quickest knockout in boxing history?
No.
Who was and who was the fight with?
Versus a junkie.
Tyson versus a junkie. No, that was not it. Tyson is in the top 10. 2007, Phil Williams was taking on Brandon Burke, where Burke was wearing some funky shorts and he sprinted out of the corner only to rock right into a right hand by
the shorts have to do
by Phil Williams. He was trying to bounce around. He was really, I'm going to come out and I'm going to whoop you. And he ran right into a right hand. Fight was stopped after just 10 seconds.
I was going to make a joke about any Rocky fight. It was not ever going to be on the quickest of all time. But that's going to do it for this show. Very, very fun show. Again, I want to thank Brian. Is it McElroy? Is that how you say it?
McElroy.
McElroy and Demitri Morales for coming on and chatting with us after they were both victorious last weekend in their big fights in Spokane. Have another big fight here April
23rd.
Thank you.
7:00.
So very, very nice to meet both of them. We've talked to Brian on the show before, first time meeting him in person. Demitri, a very fantastic young man.
For 18.
Yeah, very confident, very well spoken. I think it was a very, very good interview with him. Wish them both the best, especially when we get our 600 followers and Robert has to go up there and do a training session when he wins the poll.
I'm surprised Alicia has not had all of the sports department or all of the people go onto our page and start liking things just to make things happen.
She doesn't like us.
She loves us. She calls us all the time.
And of course, the big one, Denny Grubb on here, being our guest judge and winning our sports-related draft somehow. I don't know how that worked. But don't forget, Saturday between Game 1 and Game 2 against British Columbia, we'll be honoring Denny Grubb by naming the press box over there at Harris Field.
Well deserved.
After the Hall of Fame statistician. And I'm still clamoring to call it the Grub Hub.
Right.
It's just give us something.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
And I won't be here, Denny. And I know, Denny, you're listening. And for me, what an honor for somebody like you to have that named after you. So do love you, sir. And congratulations on the wonderful honor.
I will try not to embarrass you too much on the PA call that I get to do. I'm curious what they're going to give me to say during all that. I'm sure. I remember doing the volleyball that one time. Geez, the stuff that they said. So we will see how all that goes. Very, very big honor and very excited to see that be bestowed upon Denny. But for now, that is our 75th episode of this show. Somehow they still have not kicked us off the air.
Not yet.
As much as we have attempted to get kicked off the air. We are still here, still going strong. Lots coming up. We are in the talks of doing another. We did the live NFL draft last year with a couple people on the Time Spent Poorly show. Now, possibly working again with the W2M guys. We've had Eric and Harry on the show before, both as guests and as judges. They have straight up ripped off our show name for their own show name. If you want to check that out, it's usually on Thursday nights over at the W2M network at the Broadhurst and Watkins Sports Report. Very original name, boys. But we're in talks with them about doing a 4-person live react to the NFL draft and trying to create a more professional look for that. I think we want to push our boundaries a little bit and see what we can do with that. And again, I'm very, very excited for the draft, obviously, with the Jets having 2 of the top 10 picks. So very excited there. But thank you guys. Anybody that has been hanging out today, anyone that has hung out in any of these 75 episodes or been a guest, we appreciate all of you so much. A lot more episodes to come. We're getting closer and closer to 100. Is absolutely insane. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we are out.